I do not know whether the experience of others agrees with mine, but I can say this, that the worst difficulty I ever met with, or I think I can ever meet with, happened a little time after my conversion to God. When I first knew the weight of sin, it was as a burden, as a labor, as a trouble. But when the second time I asked the Lord that I might grow in faith and love and every grace, might more of his salvation know, and seek more earnestly his face. And when he answered me by letting all my sins loose upon me, they appeared more frightful than before. I thought the Egyptians in Egypt were not half so bad as the Egyptians out of Egypt. I thought the sins I knew before, though they were cruel taskmasters, were not half so much to be dreaded as those soldier sins, armed with spears and axes, riding in iron chariots, with scythes upon their axles, hastening to assault me. It is true, they did not come so near to me as heretofore. Nevertheless, they occasioned me more fright even than when I was their slave. The Israelites went up harnessed, marching in their ranks, and I doubt not singing as they went, because they were delivered from the daily task and from the cruel bondage. But suddenly they turned their heads while they were marching, for they heard a dreadful noise behind them, a noise of chariots and of men shouting for battle, and at last, when they could really see the Egyptians and the thick cloud of dust rising behind them, then they said that they should be destroyed. They should now fall by the hand of the enemy. I remember after my conversion, it may not have happened to all, but it did to me. There came a time when the enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. So Satan, loath to leave a soul, pursues it hotfoot. He will have it back if he can, and often, soon after conversion, there comes a time of dreadful conflict, when the soul seems as if it could not live. Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that the Lord brought us into this condition of temporary freedom, that we might be all the more distressed by our adversaries? So said unbelief. But God brought his people right out by one final stroke. Miriam knew it when she took her timbrel and went forth with the women and answered them in the jubilant song, Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. I love best of all that note in the Song of Moses, where he says, The depths have covered them. There remained not so much as one of them. What gladness must have been in the hearts of the children of Israel when they knew that their enemies were all gone. I'm sure it was so with me, for after my conversion, being again attacked by sin, I saw the mighty stream of redeeming love roll over all my sins, and this was my song. The depths have covered them. Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is God that justifieth. Who is he that condemneth? It is Christ that died, yea, rather that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of God, who also maketh intercession for us. I was brought up as a child with such care that I knew but very little of foul or profane language, having scarcely ever heard a man swear. Yet do I remember times in my earliest Christian days when there came into my mind thoughts so evil that I clapped my hand to my mouth for fear I should be led to give utterance to them. This is one way in which Satan tortures those whom God has delivered out of his hand. Many of the choicest saints have been thus molested. Once, when I had been grievously assailed by the tempter, I went to see my dear old grandfather. I told him about my terrible experience, and then I wound up by saying, "Grandfather, I am sure I cannot be a child of God, or else I should never have such evil thoughts as these." "Nonsense, Charles," answered the good old man. "It is just because you are a Christian that you are thus tempted. These blasphemies are no children of yours. They are the devil's brats, which he delights to lay at the door of a Christian. Don't you own them as yours. Give them either house room nor heart room." I felt greatly comforted by what my grandfather said, especially as it confirmed what another old saint had told me when I was tempted in a similar manner while I was seeking the Saviour. A great many people make fun of that verse. "'Tis a point I long to know. Oft it causes anxious thought. Do I love the Lord or no? Am I his or am I not?" If they ever find themselves where some of us have been, they will not do so arty more. I believe it is a shallow experience that makes people always confident of what they are and where they are, for there are times of terrible trouble that make even the most confident child of God hardly know whether he is on his head or on his heels. It is the mariner who has done business on great waters in times of unusual stress and storm, reels to and fro and staggers like a drunken man, and is at his wit's end. At such a time, if Jesus whispers that I am his, then the question is answered once for all, and my soul has received a token which it waves in the face of Satan, so that he disappears, and I can go on my way rejoicing. I have found in my own spiritual life that the more rules I lay down for myself, the more sins I commit. The habit of regular morning and evening prayer is one which is indispensable to a believer's life, but the prescribing of the length of prayer and the constrained remembrance of so many persons and subjects may gender unto bondage, and strangle prayer rather than assist it. To say, I will humble myself at such a time, and rejoice at such another season, is nearly as much an affectation as when the preacher wrote in the margin of his sermon, "Cry here, smile here." Why, if the man preached from his heart, he would be sure to cry in the right place and to smile at a suitable moment. And when the spiritual life is sound, it produces prayer at the right time, and humiliation of soul and sacred joy spring forth spontaneously, apart from rules and vows. The kind of religion which makes itself to order by the almanac and turns out its emotions like bricks from a machine, weeping on Good Friday and rejoicing 2 days afterwards, measuring its motions by the moon, is too artificial to be worthy of my imitation.